I swear Geezer Geeks are unreal. They're my go-to. They're killing it.
Geezer Geeks are so great. Really, they are making podcasts great again. I only listen to them.
About time you geeks showed up. Well, here we are. It is, what's today? November 2nd. And before we get into any of the stuff we're going to kind of go over, do you guys remember back in May or June, and there was comments about what's going on with time? It seems like it was just January.
Yeah. Seems like it
remember
was
that?
1992. What do you mean it's just January?
Right?
Yeah. It's accelerating.
So now here we are in November, beginning of November. A November to remember. I'm sure that is going to be coming in really fast and hard, and I think that what we're going to see is a whole bunch of really historic things. I think we have been in a historic glide path for, I think, since Trump got in, actually. Because if you look at the things that have changed just in the last 8 years, 4 years of Trump, and then that seems like it was kind of recent. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but this last 4 years that we've been through
Seems like it lasts forever.
Seems like a fucking eternity.
Yeah.
So I think that we're on a glide path to this new future thing that we keep talking about, what we think is going to be around the corner. And it is in an accelerated mode, but it is on time. And you know how, there's all these different communities of people, right? You've got the Anons, you've got the Truthers, you've got the Dimensionals, right? The Fifth and whatever. Sounds like
the American Nazi Party.
You've got all these little minionated groups of people with these ideologies and thoughts about, well, society should be this way, and these genders should be this, and those should be that. And then there's a whole new class of this fluid gender thing that we'll just let it float out there and see where it morphs to. So we've watched and lived through all this shit like this for the last 4 years that has been highly attenuated. And I think that that's been on purpose, and I think it's been required. So as painful as it's been, it is a necessary thing. It's kind of like that, what was that, Julie Andrews, the spoonful of honey helps the medicine go down?
Yeah,
right.
Kind of thing. So you need something to kind of balance the sour taste. Now, I'm a sweet and sour kind of guy, man. I am dial it up, make it as sweet and as hot as you want, and serve it. Because I'm going to bury my mug in it and enjoy it. But when it comes to the cultural components of how we have to exist and coexist and interact and integrate while we're being independently identified by a bunch of idiots, has been very painful. It's been something that it's been grueling, I think, more so. There's little points of it that were individually.
Was that drooling or what?
Yes, it's been drooling because it's been grueling.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel, and I have felt this for the last, it basically started when the Canadian truckers got their fur ruffled. And they went up there, it was 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago. And they went up, they started this, hey, not on my day kind of movement. And it was very visceral, it was very visual, and very impactful because it was basically, it was a whole bunch of big shit running around saying, not me. And since then, there's been this just tsunami of information and realizations and reveals and all kinds of I thought that was in the tinfoil hat category. How the hell did that get out and become real? What's going on here? And there seems to be a lot more of that going on every time I open my eyes and open my ears and have a look and a listen around. Because I don't know about you guys, and I do know about you guys because we've been talking about it for a good 6 months. The shit storm out there is just unbelievable. It's gotten more intensively idiotic. And I kept thinking, I've spent over 60 years functioning and playing on the planet. I don't remember a time when there seemed to be this much stupidity and idiots running around that are stupid.
But you have 60 years of public education indoctrinating these kids. I think my generation was probably one of the last. I was class of 63. I think most of the high school classes through, I guess, 67, 68. That's when all the anti-war started. And then the dynamics started to change. But
well, the nugget I was rolling around on the table there was that there's the idea. The idea that it's been painful and grueling, making us drooling, it's been very palpable. I mean, people are there is a giant shift in the energy that we called out back in June on the shows. We started going, do you guys feel a sense of something going on? There's a movement, change, and we're going, yeah. Well, boy, did that shit turn out.
Well, there was a photo or a video of the people outside of the Trump rally at Madison Square Gardens, and there were as many black and Hispanic in the crowd wearing red hats. And he said, never. One reporter said, never in his lifetime did he ever think that someone wearing a red hat in Midtown Manhattan went and get accosted by at least 20 or 30 people verbally. And here you have 100,000 out there with MAGA hats and MAGA T-shirts and whatever.
Yeah, and and the thing is, you would think that the left would get it. They would have got this before Trump did, but the right's got their own garbage truck. I mean, you would think that the left would have snagged that as soon as somebody went, wow, let's use garbage. And I don't think that's actually, I think that was a giant burden gaffe. And he is just so worn out and he's pissed off and he knows that he's at the end. And there's chatter that people are going, well, it looks like Biden's trying to, screw the Harris campaign with all of his bullshit. And it's like, yeah. But I think that maybe some of that, but I also think it's just Joe.
But it was the speed as what Trump was it not even 48 hours from the time Biden said what he said, and Trump was going into Milwaukee or wherever he was in a gloss white garbage truck. Mm-hmm. with his reflector vest on, and
that is a safety vest. That is not a garbage vest. That is it's technically called something along the lines of a
high visibility
service personnel safety vest.
Yeah, yeah.
So
you don't get your ass run over vest. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's like, hey, if you're going to hit me, see me when you do it. But I think what we're seeing is there's been the ginormous shift we talked about. We've seen the move and the again, one of our favorite run-on rants is about incompetency and the entire just lack of. Did you ever think through what you just did?
No.
there's
no one on that side has ever been held accountable.
no.
So it's,
Well,
it's something that's foreign to them.
Before we go into the more foreignness of it, I'd like to give a shout out to the chat. We've got a few people who found us. They must have had nothing better to do.
Right.
It's
And
Saturday night.
they stumbled onto, well, let's see. Oh, look, the geezers are geezing.
Yeah.
So let's see. We got Jennifer and Bucks. Hey, Bees out there. Sorry to hear you got the croup down there. And by the way, B, it's not COVID, okay? So don't call it that. Get
It's
your
a
shit
fucking
straight.
flu.
It's a fucking flu. Their COVID is not around anymore. Don't let anybody tell you that it is. But just load up on your D. Get yourself some ivermectin, man. Ivermectin. Get it. It's available. I don't know if it's banned down there in Australia, but I know places you can get it. That stuff is one of the perfect examples of shit being told and sold for something that it wasn't. And actually exactly what it wasn't. And this stuff is, okay. Anyway, I'll get off that rant. Back to the chat. Let's see. Jennifer, yeah, that's right. Jennifer's been there. I think on this other chat. Oh, Claudette. Welcome, Claudette. Sarah's in the house. Hey, Sarah. Sarah and I had what was it, Sarah? 2.5 hour chat on Facebook the other night when I found out that my Facebook account has been disabled.
It has.
15 years of no problems at all. I think I got maybe 1 or 2 posts taken down, and that was recently doing Geezer Geek posts. So the geezers apparently gnawed on them enough to where they said, well, we've had enough of this dude. So
I'm
yeah.
waiting for that to happen to me.
I'm surprised it hadn't happened sooner.
Yeah.
Clay's in there.
Claudette. Yep, Clay. Hey, Clay. If you feel like putting on a mask, jump in.
He said he just got home a little while ago and he was just going to troll us.
Yep. There we go.
Okay.
So just before we continue on this selection prediction and so forth, and continuing on the whole social media disconnect that I have just now experienced. When I discovered it Wednesday morning, got out of bed, did my shit, started checking feeds, went to Facebook, and it says, this account, please log in. I went, well, I was already logged in. And I tried to log in, and it came up and said, this account has been disabled. So, why? And I went down the rabbit hole of all the support shit is completely useless with this. You have to go to YouTube to find people who make videos on how to recover a disabled account to get anything useful. You're not going to get it out of Meta or any of that shit. So I've got that appeal process going, and we'll see what happens. But here's the strange thing. It didn't bother me one bit. I looked at it and I went, all right, well, you guys just fucked up, and I'll hit a couple of things, click this, click that, and try to get it back and help you realize the error of your ways. And I spent maybe an hour on it just see, and I went, fuck it. So then I went back a few hours later and I said, well, I had all these other accounts. I had a bunch of accounts tied to Robert at Intuitive Sound, Mindwear Apparel, the Nexus, a couple of clients. I managed their accounts and their pages, and I could find them, but then I was able to log in with my phone number, which I'd never done before, because apparently I'd set up this account that I have now a couple of years ago. It must have been when I was doing the Mindwear Apparel launch, and I wanted to set it up as a separate so I could have everything under a different account. And so I stumbled on that, and all of a sudden there I was. But that's not me. That's not me and all my shit. It's got my name on it. So that was Wednesday, right? So today's Saturday. Over the last few days, and I've been going through a complete social media content reevaluation and reconfiguration over the last several months. And I started to realize, I thought, maybe starting fresh on different platforms is not a bad way to go. So as I was trying to tag you guys, and I talked to G, and I said, hey, put a chat out there that I'm gone. I'll be back. Anybody wonders? And so I got back into this other account, and I started putting me and my shit on it, at least a picture, a header, and I said, well, I got no friends. So I started tagging
That doesn't
people.
surprise me, but go on.
Yeah. So I started looking you guys up, go, oh, send a friend request. Yes, this is me, blah, blah, blah. And I found, so I'm up to like 60 people. I had just over 1,000 when they shut it down. So I'm just about 60 people. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, this is kind of interesting because I can select only the people that I want to be friends with, not the ones that I stumbled on and forgot about a decade ago or more. So I'm going, this is interesting. Let me think about this. So now I'm finding this, I'm feeling this freshness about my Facebook experience, because the other thing I noticed was that my feed isn't fucked up by a bunch of shit that I've clicked on from before.
Right.
And it's actually mostly just the people that I've become friends with. It's like, wait a minute now. This is starting to look a little more interesting to me. So that's been my social media experience this last week. Has been kind of enlightening. It's caused me to stop and think and go, yeah, this could be better or different at least. So now, anyway, that's why, for those of you that are either in the chat that didn't know or that will watch the after the show is done. Yeah, it's Robert Bauer on Facebook, but it's not the page it was before. Just little old pieces of me, which is great, and I'm loving it. And we'll see how it goes, but I'm liking that direction. And just to finish off on the social media thing, once I saw the Facebook account get disabled that quickly, that easily, no reason, no nothing, just goodbye. I went, I'm going to have to start paying a little bit more attention to all the other platforms where I have shit that it could just all of a sudden go poof.
YouTube, after 29 million views on YouTube in 48 hours, YouTube felt it would be important to hide the President Trump Joe Rogan interview.
Oh, yeah. And Google's got their hands in their shorts on doing search, and they've been called out and caught for the last few months on all of the obfuscation that they're doing.
It's very possible with the results that we're hoping and praying are going to be there come Tuesday night, that every single one of those rat bastards are going to pay the price. Because they've done it to Trump. They've done it to Pascal. They've done it to Steve Bannon. They've done it to all of them. And you know who's going to be with their finger on the off button? It's going to be those guys that you've been pissing on every opportunity you can. And was it Robert Kennedy said that if he's going to be the health czar or head of Health and Human Services, immediately at 12:01 and 1 second, immediately that the use of fluoride in America comes to an end.
Good.
And all the 38 carcinogenic chemicals that are banned in Europe are now going to be banned in the U.S. as for food additives and such.
And why did it take somebody who was politically aligned to one party
History. That's all.
He's politically aligned to one ideology, and he's been talking about it while he was aligned to that ideology. It wasn't until he got away from that ideology that not only did his ideas get listened to, but it got the mojo that it needs in order to actually go get done. If people can't see the irony and the idiocy in the irony, it's like, okay, well, maybe you should try a different medication routine or a different therapy programs, because it's not hard to see unless you don't want to see it.
Yep. Yeah.
So, and again, we've waxed and waned on about this for months now, but now we're seeing it happen.
And you know the pharmaceuticals are just having heart attacks right now, self-induced.
Well, they've been going through some myo and pericarditis episodes for the last couple of years, as all of the lawsuits and the information has been coming out about what just a total con job that was, and the death and destruction that it caused because of the con job first of all, and then the handling of it afterwards, which is where the real damage was done. The initial stuff with all of that crap was enough to scare people to go, I better go do something, and have to, my posterior orifice needs to be a little snugger, more spasms there. But, going and getting I've never gotten a flu shot. I would never get a flu shot. I wouldn't.
Yes, I agree.
The only reason that these things exist is because they don't emphasize the true ability and nature of the human biology, the thing called the immune system.
You wonder what they try to destroy?
Well, that's what Bobby's going on about, and I'm in total agreement with him.
Me too.
The food industry has poisoned the carbon units. The education or schooling, it's not really education, the schooling system has infected the carbon units, and that's the psychology. Once you get the psychology and the biology all whacked out, you send them over to the pharmacology group, who happens to have a magic pill and concoction to mask the symptoms that were caused by the poisoned food and the poisoned minds. This is so blatantly obvious. I knew about the health and the food thing I started to become aware of this about the early 80s. And that's in the mid 80s is when I realized I needed to change my paradigm and went and became a shiatsu practitioner to learn traditional Chinese medicine, kinesiology, herbology, reflexology, because that's where the real health and the ability to heal is within the body. But they've cleverly masked all this stuff into a laissez-faire, it's okay, you can trust us because we are those that are in charge. We are the authorities. We are the ones who are casting that which is upon that which you see and do. And if you listen to us, you will do great. Follow our lead. But what's happened now is we've got decades of this infiltration of just idiocy, foolery, and fuckery, and the results are clear. We have more chronic disease in the United States than ever before. We have more processed this, more...
It's a shit food we're forced to eat.
Everything has contributed to the collapse of the carbon units. Now, the movements, especially, you got to love the preppers, right? How long did those poor guys get their asses chewed on and mocked?
Right.
It's like, doesn't look so stupid now, does it?
We got a couple more people joined us. We got Flat Six and Ghost Lore.
Oh, welcome.
this, this is the insanity hour. Yeah,
That's right. Welcome to the Gab Bag. And speaking of that, you guys know last week's show was called the Gab Bag, right?
No.
Well, it's because, of course, you don't, because you don't pay attention to anything unless it's on the screen. So the title of last week's show was the Gab Bag. And when I looked at it, I said, shit, that spells the same way backwards.
Oh,
It's a fucking palindrome.
there you go.
Okay.
I went, okay, well, then they're going to do something with that somewhere. So anyway, to the point, I'll try to circle around on this rant. It's interesting to me that one of the most consequential and important aspects of any society, being their health, has been so obviously fucked up for a long time by people who were given the authority to dictate said stuff. Well, clearly they screwed up big time, hard, long, and deep. And the chickens have come home to roost. The time, the obfuscation can happen no more. The citizen scientist, journalist, researcher, investigator is the new norm.
It is the types like Joe Rogan. You have the President of the United States on asking him virtually anything you want for 3 hours. There
Right.
isn't a journalist out there that has the balls to even want to sit down with Trump for 3 hours because he'd eat him alive.
Well, and that's because there's no journalist that has a substantial enough of character and interest and intellect to have that kind of a conversation.
Yeah.
You have to have a wide-ranging mind and open ideas and explored a bunch of shit to sit there and have a multi-hour conversation. Which, by the way, kind of reminds me of this guys I've called the Geecher Geeks. They get on for hours, and they just have conversations about shit. So, I mean, can you imagine Donnie dropping in the Geezer Geeks and have a conversation?
Oh, that would be incredible. I have no way of getting him an invite.
Well, we're working on that.
Elon,
But I mean, I would be happy with J.D. Vance. I'd be happy with Vivek Ramaswamy. I'd love to have Bobby Kennedy on, and I would double love having me some Tulsi.
Right.
I mean, those are all individually respectful people.
and Tucker Carlson.
And the majority of them, what's interesting in the pirate ship I think it was Jordan Peterson called them the X-Men. I'm calling them the Avengers. To me, they're the Avengers, especially in light of the... Did you guys see the Avengers actors doing the commercial for Harris?
I heard. I don't watch much TV, so
Have
I
you
haven't seen
have you
it.
seen it?
No.
Oh,
Yeah, I saw it.
I have my own opinions of it, but
The
we
the
got
best
to
one
dial
I've seen
this
so
over.
far was his whole gang, all the way from Tulsi to everybody, was in a Western poster where they're all in like a gunslingers. They're all dressed up like that, and it says "Straight Out of MAGA."
That is like we said in past gatherings. That is the most significant semblance of brain power and patriotism, probably since the end of the Civil War. Maybe after World War I and a little bit after World War II, depending on where you're at, but not in the last 70 years.
Well, and each one of them has a specific skill set and interest and experience
Yeah.
that is very unique. They're very targeted individuals in their skills and and their
Except for
intellect.
except for Elon, he's a jack of all trades and master of them all.
He is the Edison, Ford,
Tesla.
He's
He's
not.
the
He's
Tesla.
not a Tesla. He hasn't invented anything. That's the thing, and I
think-
have all the ultimate respect for Musk, but he's an innovator. He's not an inventor.
Yeah.
If you look at everything that he's done, he's taken stuff that was already there and just made it better.
I mean, I get Aviation Week. I have for the last 60 years, and someone put a post on there. I've seen it on the internet as well. He shows his original engine in 2002, 2004, whatever it was. Maybe it
Yeah.
was 2015. Same engine, and what it is today, and 90% of the components. The fewer components you have, the less opportunity you have something to say, oh shit, I'm going to break today.
Right?
With
Yeah.
all the other tubing, you look at that tubing. I was at Edwards when they were testing the F1 rocket engine for the Saturn V moon rocket. And in fact, the night I got there, they lit one. Now I am 8 miles from the flight line, and then you have to go across Rogers Dry Lake to what we call Mount Ugly. It was the rocket test stands are up there. And this one evening, as I'm walking, I've been there for not even 24 hours, and I'm walking towards the BX. It's February, and all of a sudden, there's like someone turns the lights on, and it was one F1 engine 30 miles away, lit up for 300 seconds, and then you could hear the roar. Holy buckets! I mean, you couldn't be down. If you were down flame of one of those things, you would be fried instantly. Which almost happened with myself and Danny Gelston, but that's another story.
Well,
And
I was just looking in the chat here. Yeah, Clay was talking about the podcast at 40. I think at last I heard he was over 70 million on just on YouTube, and that doesn't count his Spotify and
yeah,
God knows where else.
he's well
he is.
over 100 million, I would bet.
And then
Well, I think I should think
Tucker
they
on-
should do their town halls and stuff and have a panel show with all of Trump's whatever you want to call them, and have them do it on either Tucker's channel or Rogan's, or or on live on X. And then if the media wants to cover it, they can get the feed from them.
Well, that's a part of this transformation that's going on, and that I want to talk about as well. And yes, Claudette, we are going to talk about what we think is going to happen next week. She's up in Canada, and she
I think
said,
Trudeau ought to be ran out on a rail.
I think
Little
Trudeau's.
tar and feathers.
I think he's going to end up being ejected, just like the asshats that we've got down here. And I think it's going to be acute, in that it'll be very specific to the United States and to Canada. But this is a global thing. This is not limited to just the United States. This is a transformative, and for people that
the
go into
most-
the woo and they start talking about
Yeah.
we're transforming into the fifth dimension and all. Okay, whatever you want to call it, there is an energetic shift going on, and that is manifesting in all of the minds and the carbon units. People are looking around, they're going, I got some questions. We've talked about the bullshit meters being pegged in the red for the last 6 months. It's been actually a lot longer for those of us who have finely tuned bullshit meters.
Yeah.
But even the normies are getting their meters pegged and stuck in the red, and they're going, what's going on? So there is a global frequency shift afoot, in my opinion.
Right.
Now, next week, on Tuesday, we have the selection. It's not an election. Anything that, as far as any kind of accuracy, the transparency and accountability of the ability to verify the election, if anybody thinks that that's something that can be done, you need to stop drinking and stop eating your Cheetos. Because None of the system we have cannot be audited. It's designed not to be audited or auditable. You can't. There's no way. There is nothing that you can do except scrap the system and put something else in play. That's not going to happen by next Tuesday, but it will happen by the next election, in my opinion. But the one way that you can determine kind of where the majority of the energy and where all the stuff is going is by the rough visuals and observations that you see of, it's like this, the pre-vote, their mail-in ballot, whatever they're calling it. All the trends seem to be going to the Republican side. There seems to be more of this. The lines are long. Well, it's not only that. If you didn't think that when they tried to take out Trump back on July 13th, if you don't think that was a pivotal change in the energy flow, you kind of haven't been paying attention. So energy. Go ahead.
But your remote viewers had predicted the 15th. 13th is close. If you're throwing hand grenades, the 13th is close enough.
If you're off by a couple of days on making some kind of psychic prediction, I'm good. I'm okay.
Yeah,
that works for me. I can work with that. But so now what we're seeing and what we've seen in this last week, in my opinion, is the capitulation. I think all the folks that are on Team Harris, that entire ideology, have been quietly resigning themselves to this not going to go their way. They can't say that because that would, with all of the emotional content that runs free and wild through all of the minds of those folks who use that thought process, they can't cause one little ripple as fucking thing's just gonna.
Yeah, Biden for that.
Yeah, and that's the thing is they can't even help themselves. Their own team is taking it to their own team.
Right.
But you don't see let's go down the whole just the character component, since we touched on it a minute ago. You look at the mind and the brain trust that's surrounding Trump. Most of them were from the other team. They jumped and they came over. Every one of them, and for me, I have a great deal of respect for their intellect, their character, their integrity, and who they are as individuals and human beings, individually. To see them all coagulate around the one guy who they all say, you know what, if we want to clean this shit up, Donnie's the guy who's going to enable us to get into a position to do these things.
Like the Magnificent Seven.
That's why I call them the Avengers. And speaking of the Avengers, let's just go ahead and pull this up because I think this is actually kind of cool. I was surprised. There was a lot of people giving them shit, but I looked at it and I went, I don't know. That was done pretty good. Let's see. Is it this one? No, it's this one. All right.
Excuse me.
So if you haven't seen this,
No, I haven't.
and I'm a big time Avengers Marvel fan. I love all of their shit. So this is done in typical Marvel fashion.
Hi, you guys. Hi, Avengers.
Hey, Scarlett.
Jumping on the call.
Whoa. I think you mean assembling. I said assembling. Don, that's pretty good. That was funny.
It's our pleasure to come together and election done.
Yeah, how can we be of service?
How about we start with what our voting plans are going to be, who we're going to bring to the polls with us, that sort of thing.
I think Kamala Harris needs a catchphrase.
Ooh, yes. Definitely a catchphrase.
How about this? I'm just off the top of my head. I can do this all day.
Shut up.
I hate it.
Okay.
I mean, it's original, but
What about something punchier like,
ooh, boom. You looking for this?
Iron Man 2, everybody loved it.
Okay, again, I think we're just trying to get out the vote.
Kamala forever.
That's better.
Okay, how about I'm down with democracy? It's just plain, it's simple.
Okay, I like that.
It's hard to argue with that.
Kamala Harris down with democracy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I say down with democracy.
I don't know if that sounds the way we want it to sound, though.
I think
He's
we just
right.
need, can we get some production though?
Jarvis? My name's not Jarvis, but whatever.
Oh yeah, that's right. Down with democracy.
Down with democracy.
Is that what we mean, though?
Yeah, together we're gonna tear down democracy.
Will you stop playing heroic music under yourselves?
I'm Kamala Harris, and I am down with democracy. Did I sound enough like her on that one?
That was great. How many Golden Globes have you been nominated for? I'm just curious.
Yes! All right, that was awesome.
That was just weird.
Well,
I'm not an Avenger fan, so
I'm a big Avenger fan, and every one of what I thought was really interesting was they played off of all of the stereotypes of their characters, right, with all of the phrases, and I thought that was done really well. But then when they finally get to the end, and they're going down with democracy, and who's the guy that plays Hulk?
Robert Downey Jr.
No, that's
Iron Man.
Iron Man. The guy who plays Hulk, whatever his name is, he says, "Guys, I don't think that really sounds the way you want it."
Yeah.
I'm going, "Yes, are you guys really going to go through with that?" And they did. And then they dropped in the heroic music and all that shit. And I'm going, "You guys really fucked this up, but that was really good. I thought it was funny as shit."
It's not like you're doing the boogie phrase, get down, like you're enjoying something, or they just said down. It's like, well, down with democracy means you're against it.
Exactly, and that's my point. Is what the fuck's that guy's name? Mark
Ruffalo. They just said
Ruffalo,
it in chat.
Yes, Ruffalo.
he hates Trump.
I know, but he's the only one that was calling him out, going, "Guys, this is not," and it isn't.
I know.
And to see them acknowledge it, make fun of it, and then get down with it I was like, oh, you guys just thank you. I mean,
They always
because
do that.
I really enjoyed the performance and the way they did it, but boy, did you guys fuck yourselves.
They do that every time they talk. Every time they speak somewhere, they say something stupid that doesn't mean what they think it's meaning.
And to alienate or piss off another group that they can't afford to piss off.
Well, back to my point about Trump's brain trust that he's assembling. Like I said, Jordan Peterson's calling them the X-Men. I'm calling them the Avengers, the new Avengers.
Yeah.
Going to replace those guys and do some serious shit that needs to get done. And I think that is one of the significant, most profound energetic changes that we're seeing. I think these people are going to, what we're going to see, Claudette, for you guys up in Canada, what's going to happen here is just going to ripple right up through Canada. Basically, we're going to flush, and you guys are going to feel the flush up there, and maybe you'll get some of it will catch the corrupt, crappy cronies you guys got going up there, and we will, as two nations of sovereign, proud, independent, loving people, patriotic people, we will get our countries back. And it starts Tuesday with, and here's my prediction, on Tuesday, the election will be called early. Could even be middle afternoon, but I think by 8 o'clock at the latest, it will be called.
It won't. I think because they passed some laws, because of past screw-ups, they have to wait till all the polls are closed, and of course they have to wait till Hawaii is the farthest.
Well, I'm saying the pundits and the media and all the folks who are going to be opining. I mean, there's the amount of live streams that are going to be happening on Tuesday night is going to choke some live streams, and so I'm going to have several up to see which ones are able to handle the feed and the traffic and and just see what's going on. But this is ties back to the prediction that we talked about on our last us Geezer Geeks of the summer at the end of August, when we said by mid-October this will be over. It will be obviously over. The rest of it is a formality. And that, to me, is exactly what we're seeing right now. And that's another reason why I think that from the observational perspective, meaning those that are watching and counting and all of the people that are, the amount of fuckery that went on in 2020 has been investigated, hasn't been adjudicated, because there's a whole bunch of other problems with that. But all the places where all the bullshit can go wrong is one of the reasons why I said a minute ago, we don't have a system that can be audited. There is no transparency, there is no accountability, and there is no way that you can say that it was a fair election. Because there's no way, and fair is the wrong word anyways. The fairness is a subjective term that's different for everybody. But an accountability, having accountable, demonstrable, and transparent data that you can actually go in and say, yeah, let's look at that. Let's look at that computer code that's running those things. Let's look at those signatures. Let's look at those things. All of the places where all that shit went sour in 2020 are now known, and there's a shitload of people watching. There's more people. It's kind of like when you talked about when Trump got clipped in July. It's like, well, this is unlike JFK, because this time there was thousands, hundreds at least, of individual recording devices capturing the event from angles that you wouldn't even imagine. So the same thing, I think, needs to be applied to what we're going to see in this selection. This is not an election of a president. This is a selection of change. This is a selection of, don't want that anymore. We're going to go with the best option we've got. And it's interesting how the best option, the only other option that we have,
communism,
accumulating a lot of intellect and a lot of very interesting and strong people. So that's another reason why there's going to be an early call. That's my opinion. Gee, what do you think?
I think the exact same thing. I mean, we've all been saying it from, like you said, early in the year. I mean, I don't know how they're going to get around it. Like you said, all eyes are on this. I mean, they're trying their little shenanigans, little places here and there, but I think that's individual people in the districts. I don't think it's necessarily on a big platform. It's just sporadic here and there. So we'll have to.
You don't think there's a big coordinated group trying to orchestrate all the little parts?
Well, there could be, but I'm saying the things we're seeing now, like the voter boxes being set on fire, or the stuff in the ballots in the boxes. I think that's just isolated things that people are doing on their own. I don't think it has been coordinated nationally yet. I think that's still to come if they're going to try something.
So you agree then that it'll be called early?
Yes, I think it might even already be called by the early morning of election day, because everybody's going to have their maps up and they're going to know the percentages that came in early, and it's going to be marked on the maps, everybody's shows, and so we'll kind of have an idea already on if you got a big thing, whether it's for Trump or whoever in a certain state, we're going to know it early by the early votes.
Well, that's one of the reasons that I think that it'll be called early, is because there seems to be a lot of that eastern seaboard shit that get, those states that get their stuff shut down early, that seem to be in play. And I mean, the whole idea of different regions having to be at play or in play because of the demographic and all of that. I think this is going to be one of the last times we're going to see that kind of a concentration or that type of emphasis on regional shit. And let me explain what I mean by that, because it may sound like, well, what the fuck are you talking about? And that's precisely what I thought about, or said to myself when I thought about this. Going back to the whole technology change, the blockchain being a gift from our cosmic cousins as the first step of us getting into the cosmic community by having a piece of the code that is common in the cosmos. And that's what the blockchain is. So the blockchain model of a data information structure has kind of been sort of gifted to us to help us, to enable us to move to this new world, this sci-fi world that Cliff High calls it. What I call the soaring 20s. That was delayed by the asshats who we've been having to put up with, who are now getting their clocks cleaned because they had an opportunity and they blew it. It's that simple. You can get into all the little nuances and different components, but they screwed everything up. They screwed up their opportunity to stick around and be given more time to run things. That's another reason why it's going to be called early. Because the other piece, Jim, tell me what you think about this after you give us your prediction. I think this is basically coming down to, when you talk about demographics, I think what we're looking at is it's the boys against the girls.
You think that's I mean, my ex-wife, the first one, she's always been conservative, but we were having an argument, not a discussion. I talk to her, every other week. I have for the 30 years we've been divorced. She's like my sister today. And she's starting to say positive things about kumquat. And I said, you know what? I can tell right now that this conversation is not going to have a good ending if we continue. So I'll talk to you later, dear. Love you. Bye. I can do that to my ex. I mean, because like I said, she's like my sister. And she's a smart woman. And she's a good-looking woman, too. And she loves Rosemary. So that makes it even nicer.
So, so you're not answering my question.
Oh. Yeah, no, I guess not.
So,
well, go on.
What do you? So, first of all, what's your prediction for Tuesday?
I think when the smoke settles, I think he will get 48 of the 50 states.
Well, how soon do you think? Will we know soon that day, or
I think the writing's on the wall. They know it. We know it. I think it's foregone conclusion as of this week. I mean, with the garbage truck and the announcement that all Trump supporters are they're like garbage. However it was stated, that was perfect. It was like Trump had a garbage truck all set aside, glossy white. All you had to do is put the artwork on it. That comes in a roll. You put it on, tape it, and then rub it in. It's a rub off, and it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. It was a brand new. It was a brand new truck too. So I know. I think. All you have to look at Kumquat's face. Someone had a shot of her.
I mean, that's somebody that has been calling her camel face, and every time I see her now, I can't. That's what I see. So Gene and I think that it's going to be called early on Tuesday. What's your thoughts?
That's what I thought.
I believe so too.
Okay. So now
let's do a poll in the chat.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Which one do I have the chat thing to? Is it over here? Which one is this? I think it might be on the Nexus channel where the chat is. I don't have it over here on the for some reason. I'm not sure what is going on there. No, it is Bauer. All right, let's try here. All right, so the poll is, will we know who wins by, let's say, Tuesday night?
Yeah.
So you can give the options before the poll closes, after the poll closes, or sometime
or
during
before
the
the
week.
polls open.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Before polls close. Add an option 35. What the hell is that? And then this one's after the polls close.
And before the polls open.
Oh, Jimmy's getting, yeah, okay. Okay, so I can only do...
You should be able to do 4 or something.
Yeah, so I've got yes and no, and then before the close or after the close. So the question is, will we know who wins by Tuesday night?
Well, that could just be the header question. Then before, during, and after could be the 3 questions, because that covers it. You don't have to have yes and no.
I don't think that makes any sense, but I'll do it anyway. So it's going to be during. So we've got before they close or after they close. And then before they open is the other one, right?
Right.
Yeah.
In other words, the mail-in. And people who...
Like it should be before they open, before they close, I guess.
So I've got
then
during,
after they
before
close
the
the polls.
close. We've got during, before the open,
I'm going to get
before
some
the
water.
close.
I'll be back.
So before the polls close, after they close, before they open, and during. That should cover it, right?
Isn't during the same as before the polls close? I mean, it doesn't matter. It seems like those two are the
I guess
same.
it would be, yeah.
Oh, well.
Well, so since Jim clearly has some geezer issues, I'll ask you, G. I think this is coming down to it's the boys against the girls as far as the vote. What do you think?
It seemed like the early voting anyway. It seems like they said the women were outnumbering the men voting. I believe that's what I read. If that's what your question is.
Well, that would be a symptom of what I think is going on. So let me elaborate a little bit more. I think that my observation is there's a clear delineation between the two political parties of gender. There's a high concentration of gender orientation on the left, and there's a high concentration of testosterone on the right. There's more.
All right.
Okay. So I think what I think I'm seeing is that it's basically come down to the women. The estrogen-based carbon units are pretty much driving the agenda, the energy, the emotion, certainly on the left. And on the right, there's the testosterone-based carbon units. God, what do you have? Did he bring back a big gulp? Is that what I just saw? Was that a big gulp of Geritol you just brought back? What was that?
Water. That's all I drink. That's all I drink. I drink coffee in the morning, and I drink water during the day, and at night.
It's kind of weird how vodka and water suspiciously look the same.
Isn't it right? Gin. What is it with those gins and vodkas and tequilas?
My late father-in-law used to love vodka martinis.
Oh, those.
Only problem, 1.5, and he's stupid. drooling, food going down the front of his, nice suit. He's the president of Cornelius Company. They make beverage. I've been to McDonald's, the Coke machines or whatever used to be from Cornelius.
So, Jim, we'll come back to you since I've launched it on to G here. I think that there is a clear hormonal focus between the political parties in their ideologies. I think that the ideology of the left, and whatever you want to put in there, libs, neo-libs, progressives, neo-progressives, Dems, left, wacky, batshit crazy, whatever you want to delineate those. There's a whole bunch of them in there.
Batshit crazy works for me.
But it's primarily estrogen driven.
Yeah.
The estrogen carbon units are you could say in control. They're at least the major influence over there. On the right, you have the opposite gender, because we all know there's only two of them. You have the testosterone-based carbon units on the right being the dominant influence. So, in a way, and that's my point, is that this looks to me like it's the boys versus the girls.
Right. The only thing I have with that is it seems like the left does have more women voicing their opinion for Kamala. Because I think that's been embedded in the brain so long, you know, they think that's the only way to go. But on the right, it seems like even with the pushback on, I just had his name, I forgot about it, but what's his name? But anyway, he said there wasn't any strong
Mark Cuban.
It gets worse as you get older.
There wasn't any strong women on Trump's side or in his team, and it's like, are you kidding me? Every day I see so many women that are just intelligent and doing well for themselves, whether they're married or not, that they have their own businesses and succeeding, and they're all on Trump's team or on Trump's side. And I see it all day long on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, nonstop posts about all these women. So I think it's 50-50 on Trump's side for men and women that are real strong for Trump, and on the left, it just seems like it's more women voicing their opinions.
Let me tag on that for a second, because I hadn't thought about what you just said. The 50-50 that you're talking about, as far as the two genders on the right, you're talking about it's a balanced mix. What I'm saying is that it's that mix, that 50-50 mix of the men and the women, is testosterone driven. In other words, the women, that 50% of the women that are over there with the men, they like testosterone.
Right.
They're going, give me some. Yeah, there's the toxic stuff, and there's the Twinkie stuff. I mean, there's all these different delineations that the estrogen units have been purposely trying to redefine the testosterone units. And this just goes back to the regular rants of, I can't believe there's this thing called a mirror. You all do the celeb thing. You should be real familiar with this thing called a mirror. You might want to take what your shit you're selling and stand in front of a mirror and try to sell it to yourself and see how that works out for you. Because you clearly you can't sell it to anybody else. That's why you have to force it, which means your product sucks. So anyway, my point is that it's sitting there going, all right, you guys have lost the fundamental tenets, the traditional ancestral, historical tenets of the way in which the male and female species in the carbon-based unit known as this hominid form have interacted for as long as we have record for. And that is this. Men marry women. Men marry women hoping they won't change, but they do.
Yeah.
Women marry men hoping they will change, but they
And
don't.
Yeah.
Okay?
Life's a bitch.
And
then
that,
you marry her. Yeah.
that is no more accurate and acute and on full display right now, in my opinion, than what we're seeing right now. There's an overt gender war on one side of the ideological political spectrum, and the other side is unified. There is no gender confusion, war, ideology, or problems. The estrogen units and the testosterone units with that ideology, they really like each other. They like each other the way they are, and they want more of that. There is no confusion. There is no
mental
nothing. Right?
illness.
Well, that's by design and happens all on both sides all the time. But and I'm speaking in general terms. I'm not saying everybody. I'm saying the majority. There is a characteristic. There is a habit. There's a nature. There are attributes of the people that are in those thought groups, and they seem to have these characteristics. So this is my observation on this. I'm looking at it going, this looks like the boys against the girls, and the girls are just, seriously, girls. I mean, you've gone off the rails, and you've literally earned batshit crazy as a moniker. I mean, you can't. All you have to do is not only listen to the words and the way the words are said and all of that, but look at them. Some of the most depressed, angry, unhealthy people as a whole, again, I'm not saying all of them, but there seems to be a common thread of physical and healthy issues that seem to accompany this mental construct that is known as or referred to as the left, and all its little delineations of collective inclusion of God knows what. But everything that they've tried to promote to change the societal construct they jump in, they make a bunch of noise, it's loud, the volume and the velocity is over the top, and then they go away after a little bit. But most of them kind of hum around until they finally wear out people enough to where they say, I'm sorry, I don't want any of that. I've had enough of listening to that. Thank you. You can leave now. And that is more of a collective thing that I think is happening. So we all agree that this is. Oh, well, I've got one more thing to share here as an example of this. So let me just give another example of exactly what we are talking, or what we think we see going on here. Because I got to tell you, it's like, are you kidding me? You're gonna serve it up for me to use free of charge? You're paying for the everything. You're for the construction and everything and the promotion. I can't get away. Let that go by itself. So here it comes.
Your turn, honey.
In the one place in America where women still have a right to choose, you can vote any way you want, and no one will ever know.
Did you make the right choice?
Sure did, honey.
Remember, what happens in the booth stays in the booth. Vote Harris Waltz. Vote Common Good is responsible for the contents of this ad.
All right. I'm going to leave this up because there's a couple of things I'd like to talk about. First of all, have you guys seen that?
No.
Did somebody just ding in? Oh, what is this? Doc. Oh.
It's the FBI.
Oh, no, I invited Doc Skinner, and he just replied he's got stuff going down. So, anyway, so the theme, correct me if I'm wrong.
We will.
And I'm counting on it because You guys can't let me wander out here by myself with my dangling participle
Oh, yeah, we can.
blowing in the wind.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Dangling Chad or participle. So the message to me is, ladies, we know that your husband was most likely not going to vote your way. But know that when you go into the booth, what happens in the booth stays in the booth. And you can lie to your husband. Because your husband is clearly standing at the end. And the goofball these guys put in that. Did you see the look on this guy's face? Where is he? Where is he? Here it comes.
Stays in the booth. Vote Harris Waltz.
Nope.
The booth
Back here.
stays.
Did you make the right choice?
Look at that.
He's a bunkmate of Walsh's.
Oh man, I'm telling you. Does he look like somebody that would vote for Trump?
Yeah, he looks like someone would be waiting out, behind a tree near a schoolyard, wearing a trench coat. But he looks like, he has a creepy look. Oh my God.
Right? So let's play this one more time, and then you guys tell me what you think. What was the message here? What are they trying to do?
Your turn, honey.
In the one place in America where women still have a right to choose. You can vote any way you want. And no one will ever know.
So, they're lying to their husbands, and they're promoting women lying to their husbands.
Yep.
And saying that, and pulling in the whole idea of the one place where a woman still has her privacy. What? I'm sorry. Were you guys the ones that were talking about, trans and men and women's sports? What was that privacy thing you were talking about? And protecting women's rights and their sovereignty to an agency to make their own decisions. I mean, I'm looking at this going, this is another one, just like that last one, where it's like, I don't think you're getting the message across you think you are. What do you think, Jim?
It proves to the world, and proves to me that just deceive your husband, lie to your husband.
Make the right choice.
Yeah, did you see the other doofus? Look at, look at the guy in the red here. He looks like a pizza driver, a pizza boy.
Stand up straight, Jesus. Get a haircut.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely spending time at the bar. Now, these women, red stripe, blue stripe,
red and white.
Red, you see how they're doing this?
Yeah.
They got their matching hats. This boy over here is wearing jeans, and he's got some khaki thing going on. The imagery, I think, is really interesting to just ponder and pick apart, because you can kind of go, hey, look at all the subliminal shit going on here. But I tell you what, these two goofballs they put in here to be the guys that you can lie to. It's like,
yeah.
It's like, okay, that's what you came up with?
Did you make the right choice?
Sure did. Honey?
Remember, what happens in the booth stays in the booth. Vote Harris Waltz. Vote Common Good is responsible for the contents of this ad.
Oh, man. I'm telling you. That...
She has a temper.
Man, that just...
She went off script somewhere. I don't know if it was at CBS or if it was a meeting of some sort. I don't think it was at any type of crowd, where a crowd would gather. She was just ranting and raving. And then there's a fairly long piece on Kamala when she was district attorney. He said, you may have thought it was this minor little misdemeanor, but I can move things around so I can charge you with a felony. I can arrest you and I can ruin your life. And she has this, and I've done it. Well, how wonderful. This woman has no soul. This woman is an empty vessel. She can't carry on a conversation. Can you imagine Joe Rogan do to her for 3 hours? She'd commit Harry Carey, probably be by the 45-minute mark, because she couldn't.
They could
deal.
do 3 hours, but he'd still be asking her the first question all the way through the whole interview.
No,
like, what's your plan? No, what's your plan? No, what is your plan? They'd be doing that for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Well, I don't. I think that's well. Let me back up here. About 5 thoughts started to come out at once.
Yeah.
Wait, I got to pick one. Part of, at least from what Rogan said, part of it was they wouldn't do more than an hour. It's like, well, that conversation would last more than 10 minutes without it begin to crater, and just
You're giving a lot of benefit to the doubt.
Right.
I mean,
so, but one of them was apparently there was a restriction on follow-up. They did not want follow-up, and Joe's going, that's not how it's done. That's not a conversation. So there is nothing that has been, there's nothing been produced or executed that has had any level of competency and credibility that has any kind of lasting sustainability to it. A perfect example is, you remember how it was all about hope and how it was all about joy?
Yeah, joy.
Remember that? Hope
Yeah,
and
the
joy.
Marxist saying.
Right? Well, I mean, that was the vibe, and they hooked up to the air pump and they filled that son of a bitch and they rode it until it ran out of air, because it ran out. Where'd it go? You can see the shifts in the narrative and of the psychology as they've packaged their poo-poo and tried to sell it to you. and they're terrible at it. They're terrible at marketing. They're terrible at creativity. They're terrible at what makes all those things really good. They're terrible about having any kind of clue or understanding of human motivation. They just don't get what motivates us, the persuasive things that makes us compelled and interested and have desire and curiosity. They don't understand any of that shit. Yet it is the most fundamental component of our existence. And when it's properly stimulated, tickled, attenuated, it causes movement. It causes an action, an emotion, and a direction. And that goes back to what I was saying about, if you haven't watched The Energy Shift, then you're sitting back with the remote and a bag of Cheetos and not paying attention.
Well, like I said, I don't know if the program has started yet, because we were just shooting the bull for a bit, where it showed the video of Fifth Avenue that Madison Square Garden is on, whatever it is. Or is it Broadway? I don't know. I've been there, but I didn't pay that much attention. But the fact that there's 100,000 people out there with red hats on that said, this and no one got mugged because of it. They even,
But Jim, you saw all those reports and just all the uproar of all of the trash that crowd left behind, didn't you?
I didn't see any.
It's because there wasn't any.
Yeah,
That's my point.
They're not
You didn't
liberal.
see it because
Yeah.
there wasn't any. It was not only a shitload of people with a certain ideology gathered together, harnessing their energy in a collective. It was peaceful. It was wonderful. Nothing happened. Everything was cool. There was none of the hooded Nazi nonsense bullshit that these people keep bringing up because they have nothing else to use. Their persuasion, they have zero persuasion mojo. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
They have got nothing, and they've had nothing for a long time, and that's a self-imposed implosion, in my opinion, and that's what we're seeing. And again, you know, the folks at the tops, they bailed a while back, so they left the second, third level folks who kind of don't really know what they're doing, except they got a playbook. There's no charisma, there's no leadership, there's no innovation or creativity, none of that. So they're just flailing about, picking pages out of the book, throwing around, see what happens, trying to make chaos. And enlisting all of their other friends who really kind of don't care. Let me ask you guys something seriously, and I could be biased here because I are an Avengers fan. But I think all those cats there, all the Avengers that did that commercial, they all got fuck you money. They don't need, they don't care one way who's running what. So because they're in that group, that party, that clique of the elite in the Hollywood entertainment thing.
Yeah,
in order to keep
factor.
I don't think any of those guys were Diddy folks. I wouldn't surprise me if they were, but it wouldn't surprise me if one or two didn't. But anyway, I kind of looked at that and I thought, yeah, and here's one of the reasons I think that. Exactly because of the point that Mark Ruffalo was making at the end of the ad, that was clearly exactly what the ad was doing. That ad was not, anybody who thought that was going to affect anybody on the fence, let alone their own people, were clearly clueless. Because they killed their own ad in their ad. By making this, we're going to take down democracy. It's like, you okay? Let's see how that rolls, because that's exactly what you're accusing your opponent of doing. Hello. So I could be just completely full of shit, and
Well, you are,
my bias of my Avengers fondness is showing, but I think that those guys did that ad on purpose. They said, well, we got another movie to make. We don't want to piss anybody off, but we'll fuck with them by doing the take democracy down. and it'll be really good, because aside from the message, I thought that was done really good. I laughed my ass off at that. I thought that was great. So, anyway.
Did you watch J.D. Vance on Rogan?
I only caught a piece of it. It's in my queue.
Yeah, I only made, when I watched Trump's, I only made it for the first 2 hours, and then I had to go to bed, and I finished the last hour the next morning, but I started JD's early enough where it wasn't dark 30 when I got done with the video or listening to him. And I wanted to find Tucker's interview of Trump, but I signed into Tucker Carlson Network, and I don't think I found the right one, because it didn't make any sense, but of what I thought I was looking for.
Well, the amount of communication that has been proffered, spread liberally in every venue and every, I mean, literally. Trump goes from a barbershop to McDonald's to Rogan to Madison Square Garden to a dump truck in 10 days.
Garbage truck. Garbage truck.
Garbage truck, yes, garbage truck.
But a pretty white one.
In 10 days. That doing that many appearances for anybody.
Yeah.
You could is like I don't know. I mean, he doesn't seem to me. I get zero vibe that he's on any kind of
he's so
stimulants
anti-drug.
Yeah, I know.
And someone
Alcohol,
noticed
all that.
Yeah,
I don't think he sleeps very much. I think he only
said
gets
he
like
only needs
4 or
about
5 hours of sleep.
He said 3 to 4 hours is when he usually sleeps.
And here's the other. Did you notice on the Rogan show? For 3 hours, Trump didn't take a drink, and he didn't pee. He just sat there the whole time, and was in the same space the whole time. There was, and that space was a little fertile field of, okay, well, let's talk about this.
Yes, he said, I'd like to come back.
Well, I think he will. I think
Oh, yeah.
So that leads us to we've been going for about 90 minutes. Let's head into the half here and start winding this thing down. Here's the real important thing in my opinion, because I think we all agree there's at least an 85-90% chance of what we think, what we've said tonight is what will happen on Tuesday. The question is the aftermath, and what does that mean? What does that look like? Because all of these folks that we've been deservedly mocking for their mental illnesses and issues and the way they've conducted themselves and fucked with everybody else, those people are not going to do well.
Not at all.
They are not going to be a happy group of carbon units. And the emotion that's already bottled up and, being sprayed liberally from those that have all that, they're going to take the caps off and start dumping stuff. They're not going to use a spray bottle anymore. In my opinion, I think that and it's going to be, it'll flare up enough, and I think it'll happen in pockets. It'll happen in little areas, and there'll be little, disturbances that will rise up and so forth. But I don't think people are going to put up with it, and they're not going to. I think there'll be more of the, instead of back when they had the summer of love bullshit, and people just kind of stood back and went, "Well, I don't want to get involved in that. Stay away from that."
I was supposed to stay away from it.
Yeah, well, right. But so I think if that happens again, there's going to be a lot more people going, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
You cannot do that. We saw what you did last time, and we are not going to let you start that shit again. And this goes, this is a part of what I've, it was back when the Canadian truckers, God love them, did their thing. And I said, this is the beginning of what I see as the rise of the pissed off peeps.
Yep. I remember you saying that.
And this, I think that's what we're seeing right now. We're the rise of the pissed off peeps. And it's going to start with a huge psychological smack upside the cranium with this too big to rig, beat the cheat, however you want to frame it. I call it too obvious to obfuscate. You can't, there's nothing that you can try to wind up and shove into it to change it from the obviousness of it.
A shit sandwich is a shit sandwich, no matter what kind of dressing you put on it.
A turd in a sandwich is still a turd.
Yeah.
So I think that cycle, and I think a lot of it, it's starting to come around. I think there's a good percentage of those that are sucked into that ideology that are starting to have the come to whatever they want to call their thing moment.
Right.
They're starting to have the, oh shit, this is not going to happen the way we want. Oh shit, it's going to be exactly the opposite of what I've been warning everyone about. Because that's what they do, right?
Well, hopefully, with everything coming back to the States and, if Trump's team starts clearing out the swamp, hopefully everybody, as far as the populace, could just hang on before their heads explode. They'll finally figure out that, okay, we have more control, we have more money coming in personally, and the economy is going to do good, and, we'll take off, but there's going to be a period in there that's going to happen first before this all kicks in. Hopefully, like I said, they can hang in long enough without their heads exploding to see it.
Well, and I think there's going to be the pharma revenue is going to jump for a quarter or two because everybody's going to be up in their meds. But I think the thing that really is I think is going to happen, and I hope that it does, is that they go through this mental transformative disruption. And it's like, oh shit, not only did it not happen what I wanted to or what I thought would, but now I have to look at all the things that I thought would, that I wanted, and why didn't they happen? And I think that there's going to be these, how a tumbler, you're doing a lock and it starts locking and tumbling, and you start locking in. There's going to be those kind of moments, a lot of them, where people are going to start examining and realizing that the main reason that they had the emotional content and had such disappointment is because what they thought they believed was true wasn't. And that is that bolt from the blue, the moment of light, hitting the resonant reasoning chambers within the cranium.
Right.
Which is not really in the cranium, but at least that's where they feel it and experience it. So once that occurs, there's going to be a lot of people we're going to have to support them. We're going to have to be aware of them and watch for them, and help them, because that is going to be a very painful thing, and we're going to need as many people sane to clean up this mess that these. And it's not just the last 4 years. As we've said, we got decades of broken systems that are antiquated and just, not only just complete shambles of the way that they've been designed, and they're held together by bubblegum, baling wire, and duct tape, but it's corrupt as shit. It's inefficient. Come along AI. Oh, you mean you can task a system to go look at you can task a program to go look at a system, analyze it for efficiency, just based on logic and reasoning and math and all the things you put in, and come back and tell me how you would redesign it so that it would work better? Okay, show me what you got. Because the shit we got right now you can't fix it, you can't repair it. It has to be replaced. So I think,
like you said, there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. It's going to take time to clean house, to drain the swamp.
Oh, there's going to be a mass chopping block on day one. I think anybody hired by Obama, anybody hired by Hillary, anybody hired by Biden, and Bill Clinton, if you were hired by those people, I want your resignation right now. And the top 4 or 5 levels of all the alphabets.
Yeah,
there's going to be some criminal activity at the FBI that I know they're terrified of finding out.
Well, I think here's the thought. What do you think of this? Musk being the head of this Department of Government Efficiency or whatever. It's like brilliant. Bring him in. Let's see what let's outline it.
$2 trillion.
Because of the the level of access and exposure and responsibility he's going to be given, his charter. You know all the rank and the skank, the career bureaucrats that have been in there for too long, that need to be purged. Okay. Between the realization that there's going to be a completely new administration and group of people, between that moment and the time that it happens, 76 days later, on January 20th, I think there's going to be a lot of rats, just leaving the ship, starting to jump ship, saying, we're out. It'll start kind of a self-cleansing. But with Musk in there and him being able to go in and just take his, his wand.
I think he already has, Robert.
I think he'd just go in and say, well, this is the percentage gone, and sorry if you got caught in it. Everybody else did too. So that's the way I would run it do it as a businessman. If I had that responsibility, I'd go in and say, do exactly that.
And how many businessmen do you have working for Kumquat? Oh, fucking nobody working for her. How many business people does President Trump have, under his wing? Everybody there is exceptional in their chosen area.
Except Bill Gates. Bill's over with Kumquat. Right?
Yeah,
Isn't
because he was at Epstein Island and probably some of the Diddy parties.
Well, wasn't it who were hit? She's just landed some big endorsements. Shaquille, right? Didn't Shaq sign up for her? Was it Shaq or was it LeBron? LeBron.
I don't know.
It was LeBron. And Usher. Bruce Springsteen. I mean, and then. Is it Beyonce, Diddy's girlfriend, or ex-girlfriend?
Yeah.
You can't tell who the fucker is or who the fuck he is now either.
And then you got Clooney, right?
Yeah.
And the what was it? The white. We got to dig that one up. I want to see that one too. So, because these guys are just dropping gems everywhere. What is it? White Guys for Kamala?
Yeah.
That's what it was called?
Yeah.
Let's see if we can find that sumbitch here. Because all of this that we've been talking about and that we've shown, from my perspective. Oh, that's why. Okay, now I can read everything. So, from my perspective, is the complete Is this it? No. It's the complete war of the boys and the girls. We have never had a gender war or conflict, let's put it that way. Except maybe back when, women's suffrage, that was when women went through the vote thing, right?
Yeah.
And they had to is that it? Which one is this?
I'm waiting for someone to accuse Trump of trying to cancel the amendment that gave women the right to vote, the women's suffrage. They'll try. They've tried everything else and nothing has worked. Every time they've tried to throw the big one, he lands on his feet. Have you ever seen Trump look worried?
No, he's actually. I think he's more comfortable and relaxed now than he has ever been.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I think he knows.
I think he knows he's doing a legacy thing,
Yeah.
And he knows that he's assembled the best minds of the time to transform the United States and the world, for that matter. And I think he understands that. And even if it's not true, it's my recreational belief. And I really want it to be true because it sounds cool as shit.
Right.
So here's we'll do this one on the way out. Because we all know. Nobody knows white dudes like white dudes. Right?
Yeah.
Hey, white dudes. So I think we're all pretty sick of hearing how much we suck. Every time you go online, it's the same story. We're the problem. And yeah, some white dudes are. Trump and all his MAGA buddies are out there making it worse, shouting nonsense in their stupid red hats and acting like they speak for us when they don't. All they've ever done is screw us over. But if you're not on the MAGA train, where do you go? Isn't it just swapping out one crappy option for another? Then it hit me. This isn't about picking teams. It's about who's got a plan that's going to make life better for me and my family. So I've been doing my own research and decided to check out Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And before you jump down my throat, they're actually talking to guys like us. No lectures, no BS. Just real solutions that protect our freedoms and help us take care of the people who matter. And honestly, I think Harris and Walz are the ones to make that happen. At the end of the day, you're your own man. It's your call. If anyone gives you crap about it, tell them it's none of their damn business.
Wow.
That was lame.
Wow.
I mean, that was just. there's junior high school kids.
Here's the one that I was looking for. Sorry. Yeah, this is now we'll get a full Monty.
I'm a man. I'm a man.
I'm a man, man.
I'm a man.
I'm a macho man.
I'm a macho man.
I like ribeye steaks.
I lift barbell weights.
I can fit an entire can of Foster's in my mouth.
Anyways, you think I'm afraid to get my hands dirty?
You think I'm afraid of bears?
Bears. Grrr.
I'll tell you another thing I'm sure as shit not afraid of. Women.
All of my besties are women.
I mean, everyone in my book club is a woman.
Last year, I did a wine tour in Tuscany with women.
I'm physically attracted exclusively to women.
Ew, gross.
A woman wants to be president? Well, I'm man enough to give her my full-throated support.
You already had me at full-throated.
Because I'm man enough to raw dog a flight.
I'm man enough to raw dog an
Because I'm man enough to support women. I'm sick of so-called men dominating, controlling, and belittling women.
That's what I'm here for. Pound me like a chicken breast.
I'm man enough to not ban young women from reading Little Women.
You know, I'm not actually sure anyone wants to do that.
Put on a scary clown mask and tell me I ain't.
Because I love women who take charge.
And I'm man enough to help them win.
Oh, that Tim. You should get tested.
Can either of you fine gentlemen explain to me what the fuck that was?
I have no idea.
I mean, that was just weird.
If they actually made that, you know, the for an actual ad campaign, that was horrible. It looks more like a satire to me than anything.
All of them that we've watched are made by them. This is how they've packaged their poo.
Jesus.
I don't know.
And it's like, are you kidding me? So, wow. And if there's that self-reflection, that self-examination, right? That review of what was that wasn't. because they clearly. So here's a question. We've been talking about the obvious ineptness, the incompetence, and all that. How should I ask this? What percentage do you give of the way it's been done? What percentage has been incompetence and the other versus on purpose?
Oh.
So what we've watched, has it been mostly incompetence, or has it actually been done on purpose and to make it look like incompetence?
I mean,
Wow.
what would crack me up if the deep state or the left was hiring this group to do their commercials, if the creative guy was really a Trump supporter, then that would make that whatever you want to call it, public service announcement or whatever, then it would make sense. I mean, it's just. I mean, I just scratch my head. I'm a very visual person, and I really watch commercials, and I really criticize, campaign, commercials. I mean, I wanted to just yell and scream at Carrie Lake. I like her and I voted for her, but get off the goddamn abortion bandwagon. It has been decided by the Supreme Court. It's a states' rights issue. Period.
Well, and I mean, there's a whole bunch of nonsense that I get wound up with that. In fact, the other night when Sarah and I were on, I'm sitting there telling a woman what I thought about abortion, and then I all of a sudden realized that I was telling a woman what I thought about abortion. I thought maybe I should not be telling a woman what I thought about abortion. The thing that I find interesting is that you notice everybody who's for abortion has already been born.
Yeah, and where I have some insight, I held a 24-week baby in my arm. His name was Patrick. He was my son. He lived for 10 days. He weighed 2 pounds 2 ounces, and that was in '78. And then in '82, somehow, Shelley got pregnant again. They never thought she'd ever get pregnant again. And we had Andrew, and she had to put us on a Previa. She went through 15 units of blood. If she hadn't been in the hospital, she'd have died before she got there because she just started hemorrhaging. And when I got there, they had a bucket between her legs, and it sounded like somebody had the faucet on. They had 2 deep line IVs going in, and pumped in 15 units of blood. But I held my son. His name was Andrew. I held him in my arms until he died. He was born at 19 weeks. And that's well over halfway through the second trimester. It's almost halfway to gestation. He was all there, and maybe in today's world he could have survived. I know Patrick. All the doctors said Patrick was born in '78. He was just too little to survive. And perinatology wasn't a thing yet. So I have a close personal feeling what it's like to hold what they call as a fetus or just some growth in a woman's body. No, it's a human being. And even though Andrew wasn't here on this earth very long, he had a profound effect on me. Life is more precious, and I think prior to this, I was maybe a neutral on abortion. The woman has to live with it. I know I couldn't. I ended up only having one son, and we adopted a wonderful daughter who I love dearly. She's a character, but I love her so much. I wouldn't trade her. But I had the most wonderful son, and Yeah, I should have had a few more, but I have the direct. I know what it's like. I held one that weighs 13 ounces. He was all there. He just wasn't in the oven long enough.
Well,
but he lived for 24 hours.
The whole idea of viability, or the concept of it, and getting some kind of agreed to definition is part of the big issue. But dare I say, and it's probably something we should leave for another show, but
it's
part of the part of the great reveal, the knowledge apocalypse that we're beginning to see unfold before us, is that the definitions of things that we have used for millennia are going to go through some significant changes. There's going to be a lot of liberation to the construct of relationship, even to the point of the idea of marriage is going to transform. And the way that we look at that relationship and what that makes up. Because clearly, I mean, I don't know if you guys have read the latest studies, but they just found out that marriage was the leading cause of divorce.
I read that somewhere. I've been through a number of them, so I'm aware.
And it's that whole model's clearly got some issues that should probably be looked at. I said, I was on a show years ago, and somebody was talking about problems with relationships, and I said, I think that we should go to a different model. I think you should rent a relationship and lease a marriage.
Or it costs you $150,000 for marriage license, and for a divorce is $30.
And I thought, from a legal standpoint, it's basically the way that relationships that we currently call, being in a relationship or being in a marriage, are kind of bound by the same things that you would have if you had a rental agreement or a leasing agreement. But you formalize it, and you normalize it by formalizing it. Because right now, for decades, men have been getting the short end of that process hard.
right here.
Hard.
Twice.
And the data doesn't support the imbalance of that anymore. So anyway, that's a whole nother subject rabbit hole we can go chase down. So we are coming right up, but oh my God, we started on time and we might end on time.
Shit. Oh,
What's
my
wrong?
God.
There's something going down here that's not right.
The world's coming to an end.
November.
This is the end of days. And I honestly believe that we're in the middle of it. We're near the end of the cycle.
It feels that way, doesn't it?
Everything just seems a little bit weird right now. Of course, my biggest concern is Rosemary's health.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how I'm going to deal with it. One of these days she's going to wake up and not remember who the guy laying next to her is. And that's going to be...
Well, if she doesn't remember you, if I was her, it'd scare the shit out of me rolling over and seeing your mug.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. Holy shit.
Like, what is that? What did I drink?
Yeah, you guys haven't had a chance to meet her, but she's just one of the sweetest ladies I know. So. Well,
she's been on the cam a couple of times. She's beautiful. She's very delightful.
She said, well, when are you going on the next road trip? Well, I really can't. I don't feel comfortable leaving her. She operates just fine. She goes, she has her donkey trail, as I call them, going to Safeway or to Fry's, or going over her one of her girlfriends, Gwen, or Fran. Other than that, she stays pretty close to home. She always has.
Well, that's what I did. Well, that's what I'm doing. So I've been working on all kinds of stuff, the websites and stuff on Mindware and books and videos and all kinds of shit, and it's just been absolutely awesome. So I've just stayed in the bunker. So I made a Sam's Club run, and I'm stuck through Thanksgiving. I don't have to go outside to do shit. So I'm going, I'm kind of liking this idea, because the only reason I got to go outside is on Tuesdays and make sure the can's on the curb for the trash, right?
Well, they say that real intelligent people really are loners. Or like solid.
Wait, did you say loner or stoner?
Stoner.
Stone, yes. Yes on both.
Yeah. I mean, I personally like my idiot time in front of the Mac right here. Mm-hmm. I look forward to my Saturday nights. I have a few very dear friends that I try to call every other day, and in some cases most cases I do. And these people, I've been calling them 2 or 3 times a week for, one was 10 years and one was like 35 years. Sometimes when I call my buddy Rick, I'm the only adult he's had an opportunity to talk to, or just shoot the shit. And I cherish my friendship. So I don't have I have a handful of them. And let me see, I got one. Never mind.
one and a half.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for me, part of the thing about being hunkered in the bunker is I get to. It's nice being. It's kind of like being in a. Guess like a mini outpost command center where you just sit back and you're getting all the telemetry from the outside, and you're watching it on your screens, and you're going, what's going on over there? What are these idiots doing over there? and so you get to kind of watch it and manage it.
I just realized that I hadn't been outside the house since today is Saturday, since Wednesday. I've been home the whole time, and I don't recall going anywhere. So, but I do like. I mean,
gee, you've got family and friends in visiting, don't you? You got a house full, don't you?
They're actually not staying at our house, but they've been over here every day, either in the morning, afternoon, sometimes both. Our youngest daughter that moved to Canada when she got married hasn't been here in almost 8 years because COVID hit and all the restrictions, and they were going through their visa and all that stuff, trying to get it all straightened out, and that was a nightmare. So they finally got here, and so they've been popping in and out all week, and Sunday will be tomorrow. It will be our last time to visit with her this trip, and they'll be taking back off to Canada.
Oh, okay.
Nice. What part of Canada? Up in Toronto or east, west? Where's she at?
Right below Toronto.
We're all right in the middle of all the hooey down there. Toronto and Montreal's got. I mean, they're full of.
Wait a minute. I think I got it wrong. I don't know.
Well,
I spent the summer of '71 3 months in Montreal, and it was the summer that Bill 220. I think it was Bill 222 was voted in by the residents and voters of the province of Quebec to change the official language to French. And you go down St. Catherine Street at 4 o'clock in the morning, there's still 200,000 people out there turning over cars. You didn't want your car to be out anywhere it could be torched. because there was probably about 200 cars were torched in a couple of buildings and whatever. And, I sort of stayed in the balcony of my hotel room, just watched it. And that was in '71, and I went back in the early '90s, and areas that I was not viewed but ignored because I didn't speak French, and it's colonial French. It isn't French like you'd hear in Paris or you'd be taught in school. It is literally it hasn't changed since colonial times. And so they don't have a lot of words for a lot of things, but it is. I work for a company out of Montreal, and we had an office out of Drummondville in far eastern Quebec, it's right on the St. Louis River, and it was. One of the very few Yanks have been in every territory and province in the country of Canada. Even the Maritimes and Goose Bay, and I was up in Yukon Territory and Northwest Territory. I know they changed the name on that.
Jim, Goose Bay is in that's on the east in Nova Scotia.
No, it's you talking about Hudson Bay?
No, Goose Bay.
Oh, Goose Bay, Labrador.
Labrador, okay.
Labrador, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are a group of sort of individual countries.
Over there on the east, yeah. In the godforsaken areas. But I've been all the territories and provinces in Canada, and all 50 states, and all of Central America. The only one I was missing was Belize, and I've been there twice, treasure hunting, but that fell apart. Should have seen the writing on the wall just by. I'll just leave it at that. There was. Yeah, well, at least you got one trip out there, but I just noticed that Jennifer and Claudette are complaining about shortchanging them because we got the time change, and so we're stealing an hour, and it's like, so they're complaining, and then Wu just jumped in at the last here. Thoughts on November 5th? More BS like 2020, or too big to rig?
Too big to
rig. I'll try to summarize it for you, because we spent some time on that, but we think it'll be called early that day, possibly even before the polls open. It'll be too obvious to obfuscate. And then that will be confirmed as the polls open. And what did our polls say? The question was, will we know who wins by Tuesday night? And before the polls close, 66%. After the polls close, 33%. So polls close at night. There's still more night after the polls close. So it's still after the polls close. But it looks like the general read on the energy of the folks that have cast their gaze on the goo is that it's already over. And this is just a formality.
Yeah.
And the system and the process has to be gone through so that that formal thing can be executed and everybody can go, well, it was done right. Well, it was done right because it was so obvious.
Yeah,
and had been obvious for a long time. It's kind of like, to me, it's the whole Joe Burden thing, right? This guy was obviously in mental decline when he ran in 2020.
Yeah.
It was clearly obvious. It took 3.5 years for it to be so obvious that even those who denied it was obvious had to admit it was obvious.
Yeah.
And you go, well, has that ever happened before? And what's the protocol, the process for that set of circumstances? Oh, this thing called the 25th Amendment. So nobody in that had the authority and opportunity to mitigate this problem did anything about it until it was on full display on its own.
Yep.
And you had been warned for years that this was the condition that was going down, and you denied until you couldn't. That shoots all credibility, doesn't it? Doesn't that make you kind of go, I don't know how much of anything you say I can trust? Is that common sense, or is that just me?
I mean, I don't get any news at all today from the alphabets or TV or whatever. I read a lot, and I also listen to a number of different podcasts that are have this the same political leanings as myself, but they're not blind to things that are obvious, whether they're positive or negative for their argument. So,
the
that's
good thing
one of the
about
things.
podcasts now is that even if they're more leaning to the right, if Trump would happen to do something they didn't like, they call it out. They don't just
they
shove
right
it under the rug and forget
yeah.
about it like the other, main media does. They defend and protect their own, but the nice thing, like I said, about our podcast and other podcasts, if Trump would happen to do something they disagree with, they say it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and back to the point of we really didn't. I kind of squirreled off on the question of what happens after, and went into the mental decline issue. But I think it was Jennifer summed it up for Wu, who was asking about our pontification on it. And she said, too big to rig, but they will try to play games with ratifying. So there's 76 days. There's 76 days after it's, obvious, too obvious to obfuscate. And then there's another January 6th. Right?
Right.
So if it's so clear, so obvious that you can contest and throw up this and that, whatever, but it's not going to be enough of it to make a difference.
Right.
So what kind of shit do you think they will try to pull?
Oh,
while they still have the reins. Go ahead, G.
Oh, I was going to say after the fact. I mean, you can guarantee it'll be the playbook from when he first took office. It'll be impeachment trials and lawsuits.
No.
nonstop. I know. I'm just saying that's what I was going to say until you.
Oh, okay.
Said before. I was going to say, obviously in January they're going to start their whole shenanigans again, but.
Yep.
But before, I don't know. I mean, what do they have left to play other than trying to shove as many ballots in as they can?
Well, no, I'm saying after it's clear that Trump has won the election and
before it's ratified.
And before the inauguration. So you have 75 days basically from the time it's obvious to the time that he's sworn in with the team and ready to go. That's over 2 months. It's 2.5 months.
Yeah, but Congress is sworn in on the beginning of January.
That's the January 6th date, isn't it? Or is that a different date?
Yeah, maybe January 6th.
So do you think that they're going to try to pull anything during that period and cause chaos to cause maybe I'm sorry, we can't ratify Congress in the election and do the inauguration because shit just fell down all over the world and we have to maintain stability. We have to go into continuity of government. We have to go to COG, which means the military takes over, which means politicians don't have anything to do.
You should line them up against the wall and do what's right.
I mean, the prognosticators that have been proffering and positing the collapse of civilization into civil war, I mean, there's good data on both sides of those arguments. But the scenario that I just said is it's very possible. Probability factor is the question. Will they try to pull something that radical to enforce a martial law, military state,
Right.
because of some extraterrestrial event?
Well, if they
Maybe a cosmic cousin drive-by?
if they would happen to declare war on somebody or start a war or say we're going to war, then that would keep Biden in office and not Kamala. So that's not going to work out very well for them unless they get rid of him somehow. But they could stage a January 6th on their side. I mean, they could, to not ratify in Congress.
The laws were changed when Trump wanted Pence to do it, and the Democrat Congress and Senate changed the legislation stating that the vice president no longer has the ability to send the votes back to the delegates, and it takes. I mean, it's a numerical thing that they wouldn't be able to achieve. There's a certain ratio. You had to get the okay from all the effective, your regions that you wanted, that you want to protest the election.
Right.
And it really, I mean, everything that they tried to do to Trump, he's turned it around and he's going to do it to them.
Even if you were, let's say that you were a neo-lib progressive weenie guy, and you were sitting over there just going, I can't stand this Trump dude, you would still be sitting there marveling at the absolute, the improvised execution, the excellent execution of improvised opportunity. The guy is he's just so easy and there and just he's in the flow of the field of energy that's going on, and he's actually in there like a big old boulder moving shit around and causing the water to go where he wants it.
And he doesn't need prep. He already knows everything that anybody's going to ask him. I mean, just because because he was already president for 4 years, and he's watched the disaster of the last 4 years of an installed administration versus a voted-in administration.
Well, that goes back to my point about this is not an election; it's a selection or selection, and it's a selection of a way of thinking and a way of doing and a way of being over another set of those. Because the set that's been shoved down, they tried to sell it, and when nobody was buying it, they tried to shove it. And now that everybody's putting it back in their warehouses and piling it up around their houses, like, no, I don't want your shit. Here, you keep it. We're going to do something different over here. Because we got these people that, I don't know, have done things before. They're really smart. They may be quirky, but boy, do they get shit done. We're going to have them take a look at what's going on and what we can do to fix things, make things better.
I think that's why he's more relaxed this time, because he actually has a team around him that he can trust and count on, where his first term in office, not being a politician, he appointed people on the basis of people that were already in the system saying, here, this is a good guy, this will be, for this position. And he just got lip service out of everybody. Now he's got a team around him that can help him appoint people and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is what we want to go for.
And they're talented people that are expressing a degree of not only interest, but they're expressing loyalty to him.
Yeah.
The way that I hear hear their words and watch their actions and their body language, I think these people that are getting around him, all the ones we've talked about, are being they feel a resonance. They're attracted to that. They're not going in with nefarious individual agendas.
Right. I mean,
they're going in, they're seeing an opportunity to join a very powerful collection of energy.
He's now got a buffer around him with all these people. His dream team, his Avengers. He's got a buffer around him to keep him kind of isolated. So that takes a lot of weight off of his shoulders. Before it was just kind of him against everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now he's got a cadre of characters that got class. I mean, every one of them. I mean, as quirky as Musk is, he's got class. He is authentically
he's an African American.
He's a crazy fuck, but he's awesome.
Yeah,
it's just like Trump. It's like when he did the on the Rogan interview, and Trump said, "Well, maybe you can tell me why I'm making so much news and stuff." And Joe says, "Because you say crazy shit." And Trump goes, "Oh, yeah, I think so." And he's like, "Yeah, that's exactly why." And it's true. But he also gets shit done. And it doesn't have, and he's definitely got the whole, where you're at the point in reference to the Avengers ad that we saw when I was trying to defend them a little bit, saying they all got fuck you money. And they're just trying to keep their job, and they shot their own ad themselves in the ad, and if you can't see it, it's like you guys they know they did it because they did a really good job of doing it. So I think that's the same thing that what we're saying here is this: there is a complete lack of self-awareness and any kind of ability to have any self-reflection, self-examination. Check your results at the door, please. See if you won. Check your ticket. Because these people, it's just terrible. And it's mockingly terrible as well as fucking hilarious. You look at it and you go, what? Some of these, that especially that voting one. That dude.
Oh,
did you make the right selection, honey? The creepy dude. It's like, whoa, casting.
It's one of Tim Wall's favorite parents. So,
Or was it the other way? Was he really a left, and she was a left, but she was trying to convince her friend that she voted the same way as she was, because she had a big USA flag on her hat, like she was a Trumper.
Well, you know what was interesting? Another little nuance. So we mocked the dudes, right? The one guy looked like a pizza delivery dude with the belly and his red, and they had the red, the blue coordination. But the dude they did the close-up on his face was a creeper, right? Well, did you notice the two women looked very professional, very polished? Yeah. They were, I mean, they weren't over makeup. They looked like a conservative.
Yeah.
That was going to work. So it was like, okay, you can see your little messaging thing going on here. And it's like the two girls are going, yeah, we lied to him again. It's like
fucking evil women. Yeah.
It's like, is that the kind of relationship advice you're promoting? Did that come out of your own relationship training class or what? It's all of these commercials that we saw had that same problem, or that same. Maybe it was to us. It's a problem. To them, it was a feature.
Yeah. Oh well.
So, anyway, we've gone over. We're going to have to just we'll clip it off here at 2.5. There you go, Claudette and Jennifer. I hope we gave you a little bit more to whet your appetite, satiate your need to hear geezers gabbing about the goo, because there's a whole bunch of that going on out there.
Because we grew up in America before it turned to shit.
And so we have the right. Doesn't that? Let me ask you this, both of you. Growing up in it, doesn't that give us the right to complain about it today?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I mean, we got some skin in the game of where it is now. We participated in it getting to where it is. And now these people come along and fucked it all up. You know, I want my Snickers back. I want my Slinky, my Frisbee. I want my nickel bag back. And my dime bag.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, parting words, gentlemen. Jim, what do you think until we meet again next time? What are your thoughts to think about and to watch for?
I hope the powers that be look kindly upon this country come November 5th. May we be in a position to celebrate. I hope that the military, probably military is going to be activated in every major Democrat-run city.
And that's going to be because of the emotional outbursts and mental
right. Yeah, they have their nationwide. I think it's 40,000 BLM and Antifa types that are the same ones that if they're doing everything on the West Coast, it is the same group that's doing it all.
Well, do you think that this is the last gasp?
Yes.
Do you think this is the beginning of the end for them?
Yes. If the landslide in my heart tells me that it's going to happen on probably before the polls open up, they're going to have a come to Jesus meeting where they have 70 million votes for Trump, and they haven't even started counting. I mean, how in the hell he's going to make up what, another 10 million, 20 million people come in to vote? Let's say it's split 50-50. Let's say it's 80-20, in our favor. They may just look at all the number of Republican registrations. They're at record levels, and turnout, hours upon hours, and everybody is in a cheerful mode. Wait in line 2 Mondays ago. It was everybody's smiling. There was a couple guys there with Trump 2024, and a couple guys had MAGA hats on, and everybody smiles at them. So there was one guy with a Kumquat 24 banner on his shirt, and you just look at him. He's a loser, but it was a fairly good group of people. Were in a relatively good mood, just knowing that how long it took me to find a parking spot, and then how long it took me to find out where in the hell where does the line start?
To your point about the mood, isn't it? I mean, this has been this entire political cycle has been a study in contrast and extremes and opposites. Remember we were talking about what happened to all the joy and the hope and all that shit that they cranked up whenever they did their thing. Was that back in August, I guess, and they kicked all that shit off. Where do you see all the joy and the hope right now? It's not over there.
No, no.
It's all over here. It's on this other side. And I mean, there's more, I see more enthusiasm, more inspiration, more hope, more right now. And actually people with a sense of, they know that there's work to be done and they want to get to it.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. That's what the Kennedys and the Musks and the Viveks and the other people, Kash Patel, that guy has got some serious stones. Vivek Ramaswamy's got some serious stones. Bannon's just become available. He's off the bench now, right? There is some mental energy that is in that realm and that camp of thought that I have not ever seen before. There is some individual, collective, inclusive, and kind of a unidirected approach of individual energies that are highly competent, very skilled, and kind of right at the prime of where their skill set is to go do what they're doing. They all seem, none of them seem like they spend a lot of time at Starbucks or even at McDonald's for that matter.
Yeah.
Right?
Except Elon, I saw the other day it said that Elon wanted to buy McDonald's. I don't know if that was true or just a joke or what.
Oh, I used to, on my old Facebook account, which by the way, just in case anybody missed, my Facebook account is gone. There's a new one. And if you ever thought about deleting your account and starting a new one, it's kind of interesting. I highly recommend it as a consideration. I'm kind of enjoying it right now. But the whole idea of being able to see energy, the resonance, and it's actually an entanglement, but you can think of it as an attraction to like energy, and how all of that when you start seeing that happen, you can just see it become its own thing.
Well,
and I think that's what we're seeing. I think we're seeing Trump's thing.
Right. They're all focused on one goal, and that's to take back the country and make America great again. I mean, they're all focused on that. I mean, that's what their end goal is.
And they all have their individual areas of expertise.
They're just chomping at the bit, man. Let them loose.
I want to see Dan Bongino in charge of Secret Service.
Oh.
They wouldn't know what hit him, literally. There probably be a couple agents have moved, in the middle of the night off to some country that doesn't have extradition. And
well, they bringing Edward Snow back too, or what?
I don't know.
I bet Snowden gets pardoned.
Snowden, yeah.
I think Assange, they bring him in and have some chats with him. Absolutely. Have you guys seen Citizen 4?
No.
It's the movie. It's a movie about Snowden with Glenn Greenwald. It's all of the footage of the original interview when he released everything and getting him into Russia. So it's a documentary of the Snowden event. With Snowden and Glenn Greenwald. It's amazing to watch because it's all the footage they took of getting the information out, getting it out, and getting him out and getting him to safety.
Where is it available?
It's on YouTube for free, as a matter of fact. It just got released.
What's the name of it?
Citizen 4.
Citizen 4.
Highly recommend it. Because you don't get more inside than filming it yourself while you're doing it. It's really good. But I think the reason I brought that up was the exposure of all of the shit. As all of the rats and the vermin, scatter about and off the ship as it sinks, there's going to be a lot of ass covering. Puckered posterior orifices are going to be all the rage. And there's going to be a lot of them that are going to try to figure out a way to cover their ass by, I have something you might be interested in seeing.
Their asses are probably not in a position to ever be covered from this point forward.
Well, what I'm saying is that they'll get some consideration and some leniency for the fact that they've got some information that you might want to see.
Here's one round. Here, you have the gun. It's up to you. It's that or it's life in prison solitary confinement.
Choose wisely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's going to be, I think a lot of the great reveal, this knowledge apocalypse, is going to, a catalyst for it will be the big squeeze of going after and trying to fix things, clean up stuff, get rid of corruption, get accountability, all that stuff. And stuff is just going to squeeze out. And it's like somebody will be doing, some raid or taking over whatever, and they'll come across a treasure trove of information that nobody knew was there, and it completely exposes something for something that it wasn't.
Yeah.
I think the opportunities and the number of those is going to be part of this great reveal. We're just going to get shit popping out, and there's going to get all these tasty nuggets of, oh yeah, well that's right. I used to wear a tinfoil hat for that, but thank you very much. Don't need that anymore. Oh, that one was in that bucket. I've been watching. Yep, that's full too. So that is going to be extremely profound, and it's going to cause noggins to be knocked around. There'll be all these nuggets in there. The noggins going around like shit's bouncing around each other. And for those that can peel back the bullshit and get to the simplicity of how thinking works, you can parry through this shit and get the most out of it. Not only is just consuming it, but there's some great opportunities to do some amazing shit in this transformation. So rethinking the way that you can contribute and be productive and make things and that you feel sustain you or sustain others. The variety and the opportunity is going to be off the charts. And people are going to go, you mean I can make money doing that? It's like, yeah. Do you like doing that? Yeah, I'd like doing that. All right. Go make some money. So all of that is going to change. And that's what I'm excited about, is watching that unfold. And then, even not only being in it, but participating in it and trying to take advantage of it.
He lied about 2 hours.
Yeah, well, whose fault was that?
Certainly not mine.
He has a baseball cap on. I don't, but it's not G down there.
Well,
we love you anyway, so it's okay.
Well, I think we've covered enough and said enough to get us all canceled enough. So
yeah, but none of us are virgins anymore. So
no, yeah,
it's a what the fuck moment,
Well, the nice thing about it for me is that we said what we said, and if what we said happens when we said it was going to happen, and it kind of comes out that way, hey, okay, you might not have liked it, but we were right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be called by 5 p.m. when everybody's sitting down to start to watch the shows before the prime time comes on. I think it's already going to be done.
Well, when you're saying that, when we were thinking about it earlier, we were talking about what time of the day, and I said, I think it'll be by cocktail time. I think everybody's going to go, well, look at that.
Yep.
Not only is the race called, but it happens to be cocktail hour. It's
There you
5
go.
o'clock somewhere.
So I'm,
Yeah.
I'm out of water again. So
Well, we're signing off, you old dried up geezer, you.
yeah, but I'm pure.
Has it
Yeah, you
driven
go with that.
snow?
Yeah. Yeah. People say, hey, Jim, why don't you run for public office? I said, I don't have a skeleton closet. It's a walk-in closet that
Vault.
goes back miles.
It's a vault.
Yeah.
And you don't want to see what's in there.
Yeah. It's like in Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's that warehouse at the very end. And it's yeah. So you guys
Well-
have a good one.
Yep, you do the same. Everybody, thanks for coming. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Do not freak out. I think it will be so stunning that it'll dampen even. It'll have a dampening effect on a reaction. And that to me is the best way that everything can unfold, because it'll be so profound. It'll be like, well, shit. Now if we go act crazy, it won't be a good look. It's
Right.
like, well, you guys never was concerned about a good look before, but
They never think
now,
ahead anyway.
now you might want to think about it.
If it's too much for you to handle, I'm sure the blue states. I'll check with your high schools and colleges. I'm sure they'll still have a safe room for you.
Yeah, there'll be a safe space for the snowflake somewhere.
Oh, Jesus.
And all the beta soy boys. I mean, I that's one of my missions, and I think we're all kind of on the same page for the future, is to bring back old white guys. Okay, old white guys we have been just smacked and racked, and it's amazing that we are still able to walk the streets without being accosted or arrested and penalized for being white and old and male. And that shit needs to change and stop. So I am on that ride. Every chance I get, I am going to use me, an old white male.
I'm amazed my son James, who's going to be 49 in March, he's more conservative than his old man is. And at least 2 of his 3 boys are going to be just fine. Warren's burning my birthday, and we share a lot of the same traits.
Oh, that's disturbing.
Yeah, and he's a good dancer. I've seen him dance. He was kind of taken back that I was watching him dance. It was rock and roll. It was some electronic dance music and stuff like that, and he's doing real good. So, but it is way past time. I need to go say hi
Jim,
to the wife.
we could have said goodbye 10 minutes ago, but you've been fucking yammering on about it. I'm not even sure what the fuck you were talking about.
I'm not sure. I don't get to talk to
Talking about
anybody during the
dancing
day.
and
I don't
kids
get to
and
talk
some
about it
shit.
until Saturday. That's when I can actually use it. Well, I got a fucking voice. Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, go save that old crusty thing. Throw some water on it so it doesn't sit there and sound like a desert.
Well, I'm out of water. So it's
all right, everybody. Everybody
Hey.
have a good one. Be safe. Enjoy the show. Because
Yeah.
the shit that's coming down here, this is
this is epic. This is going to
this
be
is
epic.
epic on the historic on an epic level, and we might just pop in. Let's say this: if it happens, if it's called before 5 o'clock, we will get online and gloat.
Yeah.
The geezers. The geezers, we will do a group gloat. So you up for that, G?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, Jim. All right.
Yeah.
So that's our thing. If if it's called by 5, if it's called before the polls close, everybody's going out. That's done.
Yeah.
Then we'll get on and gloat. We'll do the geezer gloat.
Sounds good to me.
The geezer gloat.
So, all right, everybody.
You have a
We
good
will
one.
see you next week, and have a good one. Take care.
All right.
Will do.
Geezer's out.
Bye-bye.